Hello and welcome to another video by myself, Chris from Sorare on a Budget. Today's video, I'm going to take a look at building the so-called threshold team. Through this video, I'm going to hopefully help you identify what a threshold team is. If you're new to Sorare and you hear the term and you don't know what it means, I'll quickly discuss what that means. What are the benefits of building one? And I'll go through a selection of players. I've done the old-fashioned way. I've done defenders, midfielders and forwards. And the defenders and midfielders have a certain criteria. The forwards a slightly different one, but I'll go through that as we get to them. And all prices are correct as of 4 p.m. today, which is the 20th of October. Now, if you are new to Sorare and you're looking at getting started, you can do so on my link below. It'll also be in the description underneath, which is www.sorareonabudget.com. When you sign up there, you'll get your 10 starter common cards, which you can use in the newly crowned casual league. And once you've bought 5 cards from the new card auctions, you'll receive a free card, which you can use either in your game weeks or you could sell so you can buy somebody else. So yeah, let's take a look at the video. What is a threshold team? Well, in the Global All-Stars Division 4, which is now just, God, what is the name of it now? Let's have a quick look because it's all changed. And I am still in old money. So let's have a little look and see what the actual league name is. I should have done that before the video. But, so yeah, just All-Star it's called now. You've got All-Star and All-Star Pro. All-Star is the old Division 4 for us that are still in old money. But within within All-Star, you can earn an ETH payment based on hitting either 205 points or 250 points. Now, if you get over 205 points from your whole team, you'll get a 0.01 ETH, which on current money is about anything between sort of 25 and 30 quid. And if you hit the higher ETH threshold, which is the 250 points, you then get that doubled. So you can see that you can earn a lot of cash value from that. You get it paid as ETH, which you can then transfer to your own Coinbase account and withdraw, or whichever crypto account you use, and withdraw that money. Or alternatively, you can reinvest that back into your squad. Now, personally, I've always invested mine back into my squad, but I'm at the point now where I'm kind of thinking, right, is it worth me pulling some of that money and starting to sit it in the Coinbase account so that I'm just building up a cash balance as I go. But then the trader in me wants to keep investing in more players. Everybody has their own strategy. The one thing I would suggest is to try and get your stake back as quickly as you can. And you could do that by, if you're earning through the thresholds, you can look to start taking some of that payment. So that would be some of the benefits of it. You can actually recoup your investment, not through trading, but actually through winning in the game weeks. Now, you can do that twice a week if you've got players that fit in both competitions. But if you're only playing at the weekends, like I have mainly over the last 6 months, I've mainly just played at the weekends. And let's have a quick look. Occasionally I'll get a midweek one like this current midweek, but you'll see here that my earnings from the thresholds, because I've not won any other prizes, it's just through the thresholds, is 0.32. Now, on current money, was just, again, I'm just doing this for the sake of showing exactly what that looks like. ETH to GBP. It has gone up significantly today, but if you just took that as a whole, there you go. So in prize money over the course of 6 months, I've earned 0.32, which in today's price is £944, just from entering my teams into the Division 4. Now, not every week do you hit it, but even if you hit that once every other week, and you're hitting either the 10 or the 20, and you're getting, or 0.01, 0.02, if you're hitting either of those, and you're getting the better part of 30 to 60 quid each game week, it's something for me that I find as a bit of a no-brainer. I would always have my team into Division 4 regardless, and because I see that as my best opportunity to to get a guaranteed amount. With that one, I'm only really playing against myself. I'm not playing against anybody else. I've just got to pick a good enough team to hit 205 points or hit 250 points. The good thing about the Division 4 is you can obviously use a common card, which most people will use as a goalkeeper because that's the most expensive thing to buy. So provided you've got a good common goalkeeper, you can definitely challenge to hit those thresholds every week. Now, there is a lot of talk, obviously, there's been talk about a progression bar, replacing the ETH thresholds. Sorare have come out in the last week or so and said that that's been tabled for the time being. They're still working on that. It was initially muted back in April, so you're talking 6 months ago. Even 6 weeks is a long time in the Sorare world. If you could hit the thresholds for 6 consecutive weeks and you're earning between 0.06 and 0.12, you could pay back almost your entire investment over a 6-week period. If the thresholds don't come into the new year, you're talking almost 2.5 months worth of potentially hitting thresholds. Massive opportunity, and it's where I would look to start, provided I could afford to do so. So, talking of that, I have some players which I will go back to, and we will have a little look through. As I say, it's the old format. I apologise for my voice. I still feel terrible. I'm now, it was last Thursday I started feeling bad, so we're talking almost a full week now. So I apologise. So I am going to try and rattle through this as quickly as I can because I'm worried by the end of the video I ain't got no voice left. So let's look at the defenders first and foremost. I will highlight where there's a couple of the players that I have, and I've picked up purely for the purposes of trading, or I've picked up because I know that a lot of my Austrian lads are going to go on a mid-season break in December, and I want to have other players that are going to fill that gap over the winter. So I've got my trusty notepad again. Oh, that disappeared. I've got, God. I've got a fancy background showing up. It's actually a green wall behind me, but sometimes when I put things up in front of it, it disappears. So first and foremost, I've got Simon Deli as our first player. 29-year-old centre-back. He's playing in the Turkish league with Adana Demirspor. Now, he was at Club Bruges. I think he was actually on loan last season, and I want to say it was Prague. It was either Slavia or Sparta Prague that he was at on loan from them last season. He is an Ivory Coast international, which is only beneficial when it comes to the World Cup, really. I'm not sure if the African Cup of Nations is included, but I know the qualifiers aren't for the World Cup, so that's maybe something to bear, it's something to bear in mind. It's a little bit extra utility at some point, but right now it's probably not a great amount, but I've just mentioned it. Anyway, his last 5, I should note on the screen here, you'll have your last 5 score, the last 15 score, and then this is the lowest market price at the moment. Now, what the players have been selling for may slightly vary, slightly less, but these are what the lowest market prices are. You can negotiate those. You can convert it obviously to your own currency. At the moment, in terms of pounds, it's almost times 3. Works out as to what the pound value is. So some of these players are a little bit more costly, but some of them you can see are a wee bit cheaper. So yeah, Simon Deli 0.033. As I say, he joined at the end of August, and he's basically played ever since he's been there. And yeah, solid numbers. I mean, 45 is not the highest, but it's also all of these 5 players have played 100%. Of the last 5, they've started them. They're not substitutes. They've started those games, and they've played. They've played them the majority of the minutes as well. Our next one there is Brand van Pollen. He is from PEC Zwolle, 36, so he is a bit older. However, if you're playing on a short term like this, where you can look to earn your ETH thresholds, get the cash in the door, you could then look to sell these players on. None of these players that I'm looking at, I do get requests sometimes for doing videos about 16, 17, 18-year-olds. I don't personally see the point because I don't play that long-term game. I play a short-term game where I want to earn my money each week. So you can hold on to a player for, X amount of time. And yeah, some of those players will increase exponentially. But that's not how I play the game. So the age doesn't concern me in the least. He is the captain there, and he's been an ever-present all season. Now, his Wool are struggling this season. However, he's still knocking in a last 5 average of 50, last 15 of 45. 0.022, that's reflective probably of the team's position in the league. But that just goes to show you can pick up a player that's scoring 50 points for that sort of a price. That's not, and you hit 1 week of the 0.02, you've almost got him for free. So that's one way you can look at that. Benjamin Bullinger, I picked him up at the weekend because I seen he had an absolute stormer. His team lost 4-2. They're actually 2-0 up to 10 against 10 men and lost 4-2 to the 10-man side. But I think he scored still like 72. He would have been a lot more because he'd lost 8 points just from the 4 goals being conceded. But also he had the clean sheet bonus on him as well. So you were talking in the 90s before the calamity of the second half there. But he plays for RFC Sorare. I presume that's how it's pronounced, but that's another one for for the folk that like how I pronounce or mispronounce things. He's 31, plays centre back, last 5 average of 50. Doesn't have a last 15 because they're newly promoted, but his price 0.04. I have one of these cards. That is actually, I believe, my card that I took the picture of and put it on there. I did have him listed. I've delisted him. As I've always said, all my cards are for sale. So this isn't a shameless, I'm putting this up to try and sell them. If somebody wants to buy them, make me an offer and I would, probably consider it. But he's one that I'm looking at over the winter and can slot in and play over those few weeks where I don't have the Austrian guys that I've got. And speaking of Austrian division players, we have Berkay Dabanli. He's from Altach. He's played all 11 games. He's a bit of a journeyman. He's played all over the continent. Last 5 average of 46. Doesn't have a 15 because obviously they've just been added. 0.022 as well. Now for an ever-present, that's not a bad price. I mean, in theory, you could have 2 ever-presents in Van Pollen and Dabanli, and you've got 2 defenders there in your team, both scoring, pretty decent scores. Add your bonuses onto that from being on the 5% or above, and you're talking having the better part of 100 points from 2 defenders that have cost you 0.044. Probably less because you could probably negotiate with the people that are trying to sell. The last one I've got on here is one that I actually mentioned on Twitter, Sheldon Bateau. Plays for Michelin, 30-year-old centre-back. He had a blinding game at the weekend against Beerschot. Last 5 of 54, last 15 of 49. 0.04 was the price on the market. I think that's quite cheap. Michelin have been playing not too bad recently. I did have a couple of other players in previous videos as well. I think Van Leberg was one. I actually used that to flip as well. But as a solid defender, great score. And I think, that's a wee bit more expensive at 0.04, but you could pick up, like I say, you could pick up 2 defenders there for 0.044, probably closer to 0.04 for 2 players. And if you hit that threshold just once, you've paid for, half of it. So it's things to bear in mind like that when I talk about benefits of it. And then obviously if they do really well, and increase in value, you could then look to sell them and bring somebody else in their place. So it's very fluid, and that's the way I've always played Sorare. It has been quite a fluid process. Looking at the midfielders, again, I have tried to stick with a lot of the European ones purely because I know that the Asian leagues, the MLS, things like that are all coming towards the end of their seasons. But when you come to the forwards, which you'll see in a moment, I have included some in there because it'll get you started and you could look to get some of that ETH in and upgrade, players for over the winter. So first of all, on the midfielders, I've got Jens Kuhls from Eupen in the Belgian league. They've been having a great season so far. Last 5 of 49, last 15 of 48. They've had some really good scores. One of my mates, I was like, oh yeah, have a look at their limited cards, because he was just looking to just get involved and get on the limited board, and picked up 3 of them, and he sold all 3 of them for almost treble what he bought them for because they'd played so well over the last few games. 0.035 you could pick him up for. Now, he missed 3 games in the middle of August due to an injury. I think Transfer Market said it was a thigh injury, but he's been back in the squad since then. He's been a solid scorer as well, as you can see. I mean, averaging in the mid, in the late 40s is pretty solid. You are going to have games where he could, get a decisive and hit 60, which, great. And other weeks maybe less and sitting in, in the 40s. So, yeah, solid card. One worth having a wee look at. Next one I've got there, he's been mentioned in a couple of videos before, Lassie Shona. Last 5 of 46, last 15 of 48. 0.027, plays for NEC in the Dutch league. He is 35, but he's played every game. He is a solid goal scorer, a solid scorer of points, despite being an aging player now. But he is somebody who clearly could still score you some decent points. The next one I've got in there was one I actually picked up in the pre-season, and then he was diagnosed with a heart condition and was ruled out almost indefinitely. However, that's been addressed. He's now back in the squad. He is the captain there at Fortuna, and that's Ben Rienstra. Last 5 of 45, last 15 of 46. Fortuna haven't had the greatest of starts to the season. However, he's been basically never present since the 3rd game back to the start of the season. He did miss the first game of the season, still listed as the heart issue. And that was picked up in the cardio tests and when he returned for pre-season, and it was quite a concern, and they were concerned over his career. However, he is back and he's playing with no concerns. 0.029 for him. It's a good score. It's a good price. I think he's played 95% in the last 40. Between 90 and 95% in the last 40. So that's a consistent player. And his average is between 45 and 50 most of the time there. So that's somebody you could definitely have a look at, and it's a decent price to pick him up at as well. Tom Petermats, again, another player picked up in the pre-season and sold him on because I changed direction of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. But last 5 of 49, last 15 of 44. 0.029 is his price on the market. He missed the first half of the season. There was a few games where he wasn't even in the squad. I'm not too sure if that was injury, because there was a game where he played 1 minute and a game where he played 6 minutes. But since then, he's basically played every game. Beershot are a struggling side. But again, he's sticking in decent scores, defensive midfielder, so he is putting in some decent scores there, averaging just about the 50. And for that price, it's not too bad. The last one on my list is Alexis Desart, 24 years of age, on loan at Leuven in the Belgian league at the moment. Now, he is last 5 average of 47 and a last 15 of 42. And as you can see, he's priced 0.03. He's played every game since he's moved there. It's kind of been a fresh lease of life for him. So that's a player that, at 24, you could certainly get a bit of utility out of him over the next few weeks, or over the next few months. Leuven have been down at the bottom end of the table as well. However, it's Beershot that have kind of been cast adrift. But short term, if you could have 2 defenders, say you've managed to get those 2 for 0.4, you get one of these midfielders for, say, in that sort of 0.27 or even if you manage to negotiate something to 0.25, sorry. There's 0.065 and you've got 3 players plus your common goalkeeper, and you only need a forward. Now, if all that comes together and you manage to get it all for 0.1, 5 weeks of hitting 250 or more pays for your entire team. And then you're literally free rolling. So it's things like that to look at, or even if you play the longer game over 10 weeks and hitting 205 every week, you're recouping your money. So that's why I always try to point people towards this, because I do think that this is the way that if you're entering on the low end, this is how you can come in better than coming in and trying to compete in the limited leagues where people are paying hundreds of pounds for a limited card to then have a limit, a small number that are going to get cards that are actually worth, a reward commensurate to what they're actually putting in. That's just how I see it. Others have got different opinions, and everybody's got their own strategy. I've said that all along. You have to make your own decisions in the game, to be perfectly honest. But this is one that I would certainly have a look at. Now, I'm going to switch to the forwards. Again, I should have mentioned this, midfielders. All these guys have played they've started the last 5 games. So they're 100% starters for the last 5 games. I always do that search because it helps reduce the number of DMPs. They could get dropped. There could be suspensions coming up, things like that. You always want to go and have a wee bit of research and look into those details. I think there's a couple of players, but I think it's actually one, and I can't remember off the top of my head who it is, but there's somebody who has 4 bookings. So there might be one to have a wee look at. But before you buy anybody, as I mentioned, I think in my video that I did the last time, whether I'm recommending players or whoever's recommending them, do your own research before you buy them, because at the end of the day, I'm not spending your money, you're spending your money. So you want to get your value for it. Do your own research on the back of these recommendations. Because that's all they are, recommendations. I ain't telling you to buy anybody that you don't want to buy. So looking at the forwards, these have got a slightly different criteria, purely because you can't buy a starting forward who is scoring decent points all the time for the same sort of prices. So what I've done is I reduced it down to these guys have played in the last 5 games, all of the last 5 games, but they've not necessarily started all of the last 5 games. And I had to bring down the average scores a little bit to try and find ones that fit in with the criteria. Now, the only 2 that came up in Europe are the top 2. The rest of them are actually from different leagues, which I'll explain why I've put them in. But first of all, I've got Nolito. You may recognise him as a former Man City player. He is 35, plays in the left wing. Last 5 and last 15 average of 36, which is quite low. But he is a start, he does play every game at least. 0.04. He started 6 of the 9 games so far this season and had 3 substitute appearances. So that's reflective as to why, the average is a bit lower, because 3 out of the 9 games are substitute appearances. So that does obviously bring it down. If he's only come on for the last couple of minutes and only scored a 25, it's going to drag down an average. And the games he started in, he is getting a decent score in, but he's actually yet to score or assist this season. But it's a player who is getting a game every week. The next one I've got after there was Jervain Castaneer from PEC as well. Now he has primarily been well, actually, he's half and half. He's played 9 games. He's had 5 starts and 4 substitute appearances. Again, struggling side. He is listed as a left winger. He's played right wing, left wing, centre forward, and as an attacking midfielder this season so far. So they have really kind of been. He has, obviously been a bit of a utility player, fitting in where and what is needed for the club. 0.037. Now, as I say, they have been having a torrid start to the season. But that doesn't mean that 37 points isn't to be sniffed at. When you add on your bonuses and things like that from it, you could probably push that closer to 40. That coupled with your goalkeeper and your 3 other players averaging at roughly 48 to 50, it's going to push you towards getting to your threshold each time period. So it's worth having a look at some of those ones. Now, they were the only 2 across Champion Europe or Challenger Europe that I found that fit in that price bracket, having played all those games and with an average above 35. Excuse me, sorry, my voice is actually starting to go quite badly now, so I'm going to wrap it up fairly quickly after this. The next 3 are all in leagues that are coming towards the end. However, as I've said, you can bring these players in, use them to hit the thresholds, sell them on, or trade them with somebody along with some of the ETH that you've got into a European starter. Possibly, you know, a better one, somebody that is getting a 50 average, or is, you know, you see a new starter at a club, you maybe be able to swoop in and try and you know, pick that up there. So there is definitely way, you know, these guys have a use. For example, Daiki Sugar at the bottom, still got 6 games left, so that's 6 game weeks that you can enter him into, and that is potentially up to 0.12. Or even if you just hit the bottom one, you're looking at 0.06, and that's a lot to be able to either invest in another player or sell him and add, you know, some to it, and then you could pull some money, whichever way you want to do it. So let's have a quick look. Ignacio Scoso, or however you want to pronounce it. Apologies, Ignacio, I can pronounce that part of it. And 34-year-old centre forward from Newell Old Boys. He has been the captain there. He scored 4 goals this season. It's not exactly prolific, but he is playing the majority of the games there. 42 average for the last 5. He has a goal in that time period. 46 for the last 15. So you can see pretty solid. 0.036. His age and the fact he plays in the Argentinian league are probably 2 of the reasons as to why he's a bit cheaper. But you've still got a few games there as well. You've then got Kiri Shelton from Sporting Kansas. Now, this is one that's probably out of them. This or Daiki Sugar is probably 2 of the better options. 28-year-old centre forward, last 5 of 50, last 15 of 42. 0.039 was his price on the market when I was doing this. Now, he's had 20 starts and 6 substitute appearances this season for Sporting Kansas. Now, Sporting Kansas are going to the playoffs. There's no 2 ways about it. They're a team that do score a lot of goals. Johnny Russell tends to get on the end of a lot of those. Former Dundee United player. I've actually got my Dundee top on, and I'm talking about United player. But he did get his prices. I think you're talking 0.22, I think was the cheapest one, as my dog decides he's wanting to come in and get in on the video again. So yeah, he's a solid player. He's only got 2 goals and 4 assists. However, he does play the majority of the games. And as you can see, the last 5 of 50 is a pretty good number. And for that price, that's a pretty good price to be getting the minute there as well. The last one I've got on there is Daiki Sugar. Shadow, go and lie down, don't touch everything. Daiki Sugar scored an absolute screamer at the weekend as part of my when I was watching the Consadole game. Last 5 of 46 and the last 15 of 38. Now, he's listed as a forward. He's predominantly played as either a left winger, left midfield, or more often or not as an attacking left wing back. Now, having watched the game on Saturday morning for Consadole, he doesn't do an awful lot of defending. he's up and down that line. He scored an absolute screamer, as I said. Yeah, he's one that it's definitely worth buying for a longer term hold as well over the winter. 0.033 was his price on the market. I think that's really cheap. He is under 23. He's going to have another year, you know, he's got plenty utility left as an under 23. So when the pre-season comes round and the prices start to hike up, as they always do, 0.033 now could be a good chunk more in that window there as well. But yeah, plays anywhere on the left, and I think that's quite a good price. It's the cheapest of all them. If I was going to, you know, build a threshold team at the moment for the next few weeks, Shelton or Sugar would be probably one of the ones I would go for. And I'd look to then reinvest back into it. So all told, if you could get him for 0.03, looking back at the midfielders, you could pick up, you know, even if it was Lassie Shona, get him for 0.025 and get the 2 cheaper defenders there for 0.02. What's that? 0.065 at 0.095 for 4 players. And that, you know, man, that 5 weeks of getting the higher one or 10 weeks of just hitting the lower one, your team's free. You know, you've paid for your team. You could then, you know, start taking that money out, or you can reinvest it, whatever your strategy may be and how you want to play the game. But it just goes to show that by playing with a threshold team, you can make money, you can recoup your investment over a very short period of time. So with that, I'm going to end the video. Thank you to everybody that subscribed to the YouTube channel. Should have said that at the start of the video. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already. Any ideas for upcoming videos, please give me a shout with them. I'll happily have a look at where I could fit things in. As I mentioned before, if you've not signed up to Sorare and you've made it to the end of this video, you can do so www.sorareonabudget.com, and you'll get your 10 free starter cards that you can use in the casual league. And you can then, once you've bought 5 cards from the new card auctions, you'll get a free card. You can use it in your game weeks, or as I say, sell and upgrade part of your team. You can follow me on Twitter at Sorare on a Budget. You can also follow my articles that I'll be doing on a weekly basis with Draft Gym going forward now as well. You can find that on Twitter at Draft Gym. And there's quite a few Sorare articles going up, not just by myself, but by a few others as well. And it'll be a good follow for you as well. So from there, thank you very much for your time. I will speak to you all again soon, hopefully with a fully functioning voice. I do feel better, but I'm still on the mend. But yeah, that's basically the end of the video, guys. Take care, and I will speak to you all again soon.